You ever play a game that like everyone loves and is praised like a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, but you just don't get it? Like for some reason or another, it just doesn't click with you, and whether that's the case that you finished it and you just kind of went, whatever. Or it's one that maybe you started and you didn't finish because for you it just wasn't your thing, it just didn't click for some reason or another. It happens to me every once in a while, so I figured I'd just make a video about some examples and some of my experience with them. So without further ado, listen, I love PlayStation exclusives. I mean, I grew up with them. And I do enjoy a good open world. It's not my favourite, but I definitely enjoy them when they're well thought out. But I don't know, man, this series just doesn't excite me as much as it did everyone else. Don't get me wrong, both Zero Dawn and Forbidden West are great games in their own right. Dare I say, to me, they're a little like a 7 out of 10?
Oh, that sounds bad.
Before someone launches a Arkham Knight Switch through my window, I want to preference I do like these games, and I think they are good, but I don't think they're that good. In terms of the first game, I found it fun with a decent story, but outside of like Aloy and Lance Reddick, may he rest in peace, I don't recall really caring for any of the characters. I mean, the big robo-dinos are cool and how they mechanically worked, you know, like you could see the workings on the inside of their shell. And like, that was great. And I found the story decent, but it didn't like blow me away like a typical PlayStation exclusive story would do, you know? It had an awesome concept, but I don't know, I just never look back on it and think about how great the story was. The gameplay and visuals are the star of the show, for sure, but I don't know. By the end, I did start to get a little bit tired of its gameplay, so maybe it was just me, because everyone else loved these games. But I don't know, for me, it didn't really land. Now, Forbidden West, on the other hand, that story started pretty strong, just like the first one, and I was all in on it. But by the end, I just didn't care. Like, I don't even really remember what it was about. Was there a whole cloning sub-story going on? I don't really remember what was going on with that story, and it's only been like 4 years since that came out. I remember the first game's better than that. And the addition of the staff and the glider, that was great, but I just have a memory of opening the menu for the first time and I know loads of skill trees are like the standard now for open world games, but man, can we go back to just having like maybe 3 that are really well thought out? You know, you have attack, health, and defense or something cool like that, instead of 5 where I ignore like 2 of them because I don't deem them as important or that useful compared to the other 3. The new map was cool and fun to traverse, but yeah, I really just didn't end up thinking much of it. They were decent, but compared to everyone else's views on them, I think I might have just been the minority on this. Now, I do have that remake that I need to actually play, and once I've done that, I'll probably replay the second game. So who knows, on a replay where I know kind of what I'm expecting, I might actually enjoy it more because I've got the previous knowledge as a foundation. Oi, whoa, lower that Arkham Knight Switch one. Do it or I stop talking. Wait, some of you actually want that, so I'll just keep talking for the time being. Alright, where was I? Oh yeah, the Silent Hill 2 remake. Now, don't get me wrong, it looks visually amazing and definitely captured the look of its original. But man, I played this and I did not like it after those first few hours. The original is a game that I have in my top 3 of all time. It's an easy 10 out of 10 for me, and before someone says I'm just riddled with nostalgia, I wasn't alive when this game came out, and I played it the month the remake came out. In fact, my nostalgia was like a week. It was a week's worth of nostalgia, if that. But when I finished this remake, I gave it like a 6 out of 10 on its own, because as a game, it was decent, but when I looked at it as a remake and compared it to the original, I gave it a 4 out of 10.
I know. You're a fucking disappointment.
Now, it's not all bad. Like I said, the visuals are amazing, and seeing the town on modern hardware is wonderful. The voice acting for James and Laura was good, but for everyone else, don't get me wrong, they're great actors. But I feel like they maybe didn't have the best direction.
It's kind of hard to explain, but
I'll be careful.
I'm not lying.
Maybe. And it's not just the fog either.
Okay, I got it. I'll be careful.
I'm not lying.
The new additions to the intro in the town were good. I liked the fact that some buildings were given a bit more importance and had their own little puzzles that really kind of expanded those opening hour or so. And I also like the fact that Maria is trying to tempt James into the motel and the club. That was a nice addition, but after that, I didn't really like the rest. I just felt like it tried expanding on stuff too far and kind of lost the original vision in some cases. It's a small thing, but why did we change the bowling building for a movie theater? I mean, like the bowling building is still in the game, you walk past it. But why did we change it? It's not as if bowling isn't popular nowadays. People still do that, and I don't know, it made no sense to change it. Was it just because they didn't want to do the pizza line and instead it changed it for ice cream or popcorn or whatever it was. I don't know. It was a weird change that I didn't really hate it, but it made no sense to me. And why did everyone have the original outfits, but Maria's got updated, despite it having like its own story reasons for being designed the way it was? But no, they put it in the motel. Like, it has a whole like one-off scene of,
Hey, you think I'd look good in this one?
and you know, that guy just made it worse for me. Like, this was on the same level as when DMC Devil May Cry did it. Like, what are we doing?
Not in a million years.
Aside from that, I wasn't a huge fan of the fact the game went from being about 8-ish hours to finish to roughly 18 to 20 hours for the remake. The pacing felt completely off, and those last few hours definitely dragged, whereas when I was playing the original, those 8 hours flew by, and I actually didn't want it to end in some cases, but when I rolled the credits, it had, in my opinion, the perfect timing. When I look back on it, I don't know why we felt like expanding it. You know, bigger doesn't always equal better when it comes to these things. Now, I did like the fact that the controls did get a bit of an update. I'll always prefer the original with the fixed camera angles and the tank controls, but it was a nice change to play it with some more modern controls. However, I did feel like some scenes were butchered, most notably the hostile ending chase in terms of gameplay, and when it came to cutscenes, I felt like the jail cell scene and the Angela knife scene are prime examples for scenes that definitely should have been redone or maybe updated. And just a last throwaway one, because it's literally just come to me. Mary's note at the end of the game. I mean, it was never going to be on the same level as the original, but wow. They really should have re-recorded that line.
I want you to go on. I want you to live. For yourself and for others. Like you did for me. James. You made me happy.
That's why I want you to live for yourself now. Do what's best for you, James. James. You made me happy.
And I think there are things that we could have fixed gameplay-wise, especially that hostile chase scene. I'm going to go back to it. Because in the original, the camera is facing, you know, towards James and Maria. But in the remake, it's behind you because they didn't want to change the camera angle. It would have been a really cool moment if they did the original camera perspective so you could see Pyramid Head behind you, because that's the point. It's supposed to add the fear and the fact that you can see him. And I think it'd be really great in the remake if they did that, because it's the only time they would have done it, and the player would have been feeling that anxiety and that fear and the panic that James and Maria are feeling in that scene. I think it could have been a really cool moment, but unfortunately they didn't do that, and the cutscene after it is just nowhere near as good as the original. The biggest thing I disliked about this remake, however, was the fact that it became an action game. The point of the bad combat in the original was that James was a regular dude, not Leon Kennedy. He wasn't trained or anything, so the bad combat was meant to show that to the player, you know, this was not something he was used to. But in the remake, it has James acting like this is a daily occurrence for him, as if he's going down to the pub and he's getting into bar fights every single night. And it became such a problem that it actually got nominated for Action Game of the Year? Like, how does that even happen?
Astrobot, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2.
Oh, and one last thing, the amount of jump scares in this game. The series, like the original games, literally has one across all 4 of them, and that was in Toluca Prison in number 2. The remake version doesn't land because the whole game is filled with them. In fact, I don't even remember where the jump scare happens in the remake, because every other scene or every other building I entered had about 50 of them just sat there waiting for me. So I figured I'd mention something a little bit more recent. So for starters, get it because you pick your starting Pokemon?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Anyway, back on track, I want to preference that I thought this game was actually pretty good, and I know that sounds like it goes against the whole point of this video, but I did think the game was actually pretty cool, and it was a pretty good game overall, but it just wasn't really for me personally, you know? I found it a little slow in the start, and whilst the Pokemon and their dialogue was very cute, and I definitely would have died for that Squirtle, okay? The effect of it sort of wore off as I played more, and now I did play 7 hours of it, so I felt like I gave it a good go, but it just didn't click for me. But I did recognize that why it was loved and how people could find it as a fun game. But I don't know, just that type of game doesn't really seem to be that type of thing for me, you know? But this section was actually a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be, so you know what? Let's just do one more.
Yeah, I've got time.
Now, before someone says it, I don't hate Nintendo games, but I just don't love these type of sandbox type of games. I don't really know what you'd class Pokopia or Animal Crossing. I don't really know what genre that is. Now, unlike Pokopia, I did put a nice crisp 45 hours into New Horizons on release. And I know that's crazy, right? I put 45 hours into this, and I really didn't like it. Believe me, as someone who put 70 hours into Final Fantasy 15, I need to learn to stop playing games I don't really like that much. But I blame lockdown for this one in particular. Now, this game dropped the day after my country went into lockdown, so I had very little to do, so figured I'd play AC. God, no, not that AC. Why does this keep happening? Anyway, I enjoyed the first 15 to 20 hours, I'd say, and it was fun terraforming and getting villagers and fishing and hanging out with friends in the game when none of us could really go outside. It was a fun little game to play. But after all of that, I kind of questioned what it was I was doing. I hadn't done everything in the game, but I also just didn't really care anymore. Like, I wasn't going for certain villagers. Like, wasn't there that cat, was it Raymond, that people were actually selling on Facebook Marketplace and eBay to come to their island? Like, I didn't really care about any particular villager. I was just kind of there for the cutesy little game. I kept playing every morning, though, to tend to my island, because I wanted it to look pretty and nice. But after a while, it did kind of become a chore for me. You know, I'd jump on, I'd play for an hour or two, and then I'd quickly turn it off, and I think it was go back to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because I was like, you know, I want to play that instead. But I had to go Animal Crossing every morning, because I had to, you know, play within the time zones, or not time zones, but I had to make sure I logged in on time so I could go to all the shops and make sure everything was set up the way my villagers would have liked. Now, I get it. I get that it's a good game. I know loads of people that love and enjoy it, and I can see the fun in it, but for my personal taste, it just doesn't click, just like Pokopia. I need a bit more of a goal or a narrative to follow, something to truly work towards. But all this to say is that I love Stardew Valley, and I don't know why I love Stardew Valley so much when I didn't like the other two games. I've put like almost 50 hours into that game, and I, for some reason, just always come back to it every few months. There's just something about it, okay? You do the math, I don't know. But that's all from me. So thank you for watching. If you like this type of content, then maybe hit the subscribe button. It helps the channel grow. I release videos like this once every 2 weeks. If you could just leave a like, that would be much appreciated. Maybe even leave a comment about a game that you've played yourself that everyone seems to love, but you just couldn't get into.
God bless the internet.